Good morning, kids. Guess what? I got something to say. The First Amendment says Congress shall pass no law abridging the freedom of speech or the freedom of the press. This has been argued over a million times by people. I remember when they stole the first iPhone and somebody reported on it, and then they were trying to say, oh, but he's not a journalist, he's a blogger, he's not part of the press, he doesn't deserve that protection. Well, guess what? The First Amendment says freedom of speech, and then it says freedom of the press, as if freedom of the speech is just a little bit more important. But not really. Mostly, they're equal. They're listed in the exact same list, under the exact same shall not be abridged. Individuals and the press are pretty much equal when it comes to the right of free speech. You can say whatever you want, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. Classic example: don't run into a crowded movie theater and yell fire. Now, of course, that example is not going to be so classic after 2020 because theaters will no longer exist. What a shame. But I wanted to talk about this because there are some exceptions like that. There are more exceptions. You can't say Joe Biden is a pedophile because you don't know for sure. It would be a false claim. Now, if you said Joe Biden was a pedophile, or if you said Donald Trump was a pedophile, probably nothing bad is going to happen to you because you're just one person. However, if you printed that in a newspaper, which reached millions of people, you might be a big enough problem for somebody to come after you. Now, this isn't the government's job. It's Trump's job, and it's Joe Biden's job to defend themselves against a personal attack. Same way as if somebody breaks into your house, it's not really the government's job to go find your TV, which is why they usually don't. However, if you wanted to hire a private detective, go for it. But of course, we all understand it's better to just get insurance and let the insurance company pay for it. But of course, the only reason people call the police is to get the form to send to the insurance company to get their TV replaced. But I'm going on a tangent. The press is reporting on the elections. The elections have now 3 candidates that will be on the ballots in all 50 states. But the press is only talking about 2 of them. They're not talking about number 3, Joe Jorgensen. Does that matter? They have freedom of the press. They can do whatever they want. They can talk about whoever they want, whatever they want, right? Well, here's the problem. When they say there is an election, and they say there are 2 people running in that election, aren't they lying? Aren't there 3 people running in that election? Now, of course, they dance around that as much as they can. Oh, we never said only 2 people were running. We just, when we ran the polls, we just asked, would you be voting for Biden or Trump or somebody else? Or neither. Neither, they say. Or other. Who else is running? As a matter of fact, maybe Joe should change her name to Other. Wouldn't that be funny? So they're lying about the election and who you have the option to vote for. And they're doing this intentionally. But of course, this is an extremely weak argument. If you wanted to take the news to court and say, hey, you're misrepresenting the election, well, first of all, who's going to do that? Who's got the money for that? Who's got the time for that? You're going to need a shit ton of lawyers, a shit ton of money. And it's it's not likely that anything is going to come of it by, what is it, November 5th? Something? Got like less than a month before the election. Nothing's going to happen. Which is really interesting. You could win, and then you could say, well, hey, we won this last time, so when 2024 comes around, I'll be running again. Well, you lost that case, so you can't just poll people who aren't going to be on the ballot, or who are just going to be on the ballot. Wait a minute, that's not what I'm going to say at all. You can't just poll the people who you want to poll, because when you're polling, you're participating in the election itself, you're representing the election itself, and if you're not polling everybody who's going to be on the ballot, then you are misrepresenting the election itself. How's that? Maybe that's an idea. But the point is, we have to understand, we can't just say, we don't like what the press is doing, and therefore, there needs to be a new law to enforce blah, 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 blah. No, we can't. Because that's how we got to this place. I mean, that's how we got to this place where, like, oh, you're going 2 miles over the speed limit. Somebody got mad at that before and said there ought to be a law. And now there's a law. And so now the police can give you a ticket and extort hundreds of dollars from you. Oh, somebody killed a coati on the side of the road. We can't just go around and say we need more laws, we need more laws. It's stupid. What we need to do is stop and think and figure out, what is the actual crime? How is the actual harm being done? Not, I'm not getting what I want, I'm going to go cry about it and pass a law. That's not a crime, even though arguably that's where the word crime comes from. Crying out for help. Somebody crying out for help is a victim, and therefore there's a crime. Some linguists argue that. But we can't do that. If you want to have a solid argument, if you want to have quote-unquote law and order, if you want to have a legal system that works and doesn't rip people off and scam everybody, you have to figure out what the actual law is. What is the actual crime being committed that's an actual crime? Such as lying. Stealing is an actual crime. Stealing an election is a figure of speech. Can't get arrested for... I want to... 911, yes, I'd like to report somebody stole an election. It doesn't work like that. What's the actual crime? Lying is a crime. Misrepresenting something is a crime. To tell you that you only have two options when you don't is a crime. It's false advertising. It's fraud. Whatever you want to call it. Anyway, guys, think about that. Think about Joe Jorgensen. The only person running for president who will be on all 50 ballots who is not a pedophile. Or, excuse me, is not allegedly a pedophile.